Good morning, everyone. Respected co-speakers on the dais, Mr. Prabhudas, CEO, HMEL, Srimati Vartika Shukla, CMD, EIL, Mr. Gurmeet Singh, DG, FIPI, and Srimati Shukla Mistry, Director, Refineries, IOCL. I can met some retired senior officials, heads of IOCL also, executive of oil industries, and all participants. Namaste and good morning. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be part of this conference, which has a focus on this very relevant issue of sustainability, resilience, and excellence in the area of refining and petrochemicals. The energy industry is a complex technical business, and I'm honored to be with technical stalwarts of industry today here all. I am only a semi-technical person out here. I'll also add that recent events in world has shown that energy industry is complex and complicated commercial and political business also. Any prediction on prices and supplies often go off mark. And we in the ministry at times had met you all experts, and your predictions also have gone up. So my point is that this industry is very complex, and this industry has shaped the mankind for 2 centuries, and whatever comforts and comforts of technology we have, petroleum industry has almost 90% of contribution. And unfortunately, a common man or common person or semi-technical or non-technical person doesn't appreciate the facts that the petroleum industry is all around them. When they lift their phone, then they put on the specs, petroleum is there. As CEO at HMEL Prabhudas ji said, that we are at times being pushed that the age of or time of petroleum is over. I don't think it's over. It's still going to run for another 3 to 3.5 decades, in my opinion. Coming to that, with your relentless hard work, Indian refining industry has taken rapid strides. I see some retired chief of IOCL who have taken this industry to this stage today. And this has taken up great strides, and India has become a refining hub and 4th largest refining capacity in the world. Indian refineries have continuously improved. I last week was going through the list of Chinese refinery, and I saw there was 191 refineries, and out of that, 113 were less than 3 MMTPA, around 70,000 barrels per day capacity. But our refiners have started from 1 MMT to 3 MMT, and now all are hovering around 10 to 15 MMT per annum. This is quite an achievement. In the limited space, all the technological innovations and engineering led by EIL, they have made our refineries grow organically, which is very rare in any other part of the world. But the coming few years will not be business as usual for refiners. There are talks of integrating refineries with petrochemical is necessary for long-term sustenance and profitability, as it provides refiners with access to fast-growing chemical markets and natural hedge against weakening demand for gasoline and diesel. The less integrated player, unable to respond to changing markets, may expose themselves to unsustainable business. But if you see a trend that when refiners started refining, kerosene was the key product everybody was after, and other products were thrown away or trying to be put into kerosene. Add 50, 100 years more, diesel was the main component, which is now being touted, and most of our refining capacity planned, the diesel will be the key fuel. But now, as we move forward, we see very clearly that ATF and gasoline or motor spirit will be the key fuel products from refineries for 10 to 12 to 15 years. But as we move forward, it will go lighter and lighter. The carbon chains will be smaller to be used for energy purposes or mobility at least. Many forecasts are there, but they all show that the biggest growth will come from petrochemical feedstocks such as ethane, LPG, naphtha, and jet fuel. As I was saying, lighter carbon atoms will become more important. Changing market dynamics clearly indicate that integration between refining and chemical is becoming more of a necessity than a choice. For most oil refiners, chemical producers, the need to improve margins and remain competitive has never been greater. I wish that we can aspire to become net exporter of petrochemicals on the lines of its achievement in refining sector. As CEO HMEL was mentioning yesterday, we were in a meeting and we realized that and the many intermediate products for even our pharmaceutical business is not made in India, and the raw material for these intermediates we are exporting worldwide. So coming to the point that even pharmaceuticals depend on petroleum for that. I'm talking about the reach and the scope for our refiners to step in and move into this space in coming years. Coming back to my statement on energy industry being a complicated or complex political business, the rush towards net zero is a case in the point. With the international community aiming to achieve sustainable goals in next decade, sustainability is on agenda of every energy industry, including refining. However, the pace of change is very important, and the pace of change pursued by many has proven to be unprudent, given the events of last winter, if you have noticed, in Europe and parts of developed world. In my opinion, the transition is like a relay race, and baton is handed over to the next runner only when both are running at the same speed. It cannot be handed when there is a speed difference. And the change can happily happen smoothly only when both runners are running at the same speed and at both capability. And transition is at that stage. The fossil fuel or conventional fuel is running at the speed where green energy or new energy or alternative energy, whatever you call it, is running at a much lesser speed, but they are trying to snatch the baton. But that is causing imbalance. So for coming to his apprehensions about conventional fossil fuel energy, I don't think any major threats in 2 to 3 decades. And I also see that conventional fossil fuel energy makers like you will also change and come into setting your all other things to become part of the green and part of the transition. So transition will happen when both the parties will move together. Also at the time when there is a rush towards net zero and all governments are converging in their opinions of the need to address climate emergency, it is very appropriate for us to deliberate on future role of refinery, especially one of the fastest growing major economies, because we need 6 million barrels of oil per day by 26 and 8 million barrels per day by 2030-35. So we are moving forward for our energy security also, giving equal importance to renewable and other. They are adding into our basket. We as a country, our energy need is not stagnant. It is not plateaued like Japan, Europe, or US, where they have to substitute their energy. We can add and build up because we need more energy. So we have space for everyone, and petroleum industries will continue to grow. We all know that it is mix is dominated by fossil fuel and oil consumption. I told that it will go double and triple, almost triple by 2040. gas demands, and oil consumption will double by 2040. It is important for refining industry to cope with the expansion, that their energy intensity is in control. There is a plan by new refinery expansion to go for first day Q1, D1, they say, like one of our refiners, Numaligarh Refinery, is aiming to be Q1, D1 in their expansion project, being in the quartile 1 in refining from day 1 of operation. That is a very good beginning, and by 2030, I hope many of our refiners will reduce the energy intensity and try to be in quartile 1 of energy efficient refineries. Therefore, to meet challenges, the complete refining processes have to be individually reconfigured to efficiently use resources like energy and water. Refiners must also achieve lower emissions due to stricter regulation, environmental liability. There is a growing trend to make the processes cyclical from linear. And this process is very important for refineries. Every linear process has to be made into a cyclical, so that the recycling happens in the most of the processes, making refiners less energy intensive. In order to ensure that our commitment towards climate change goals as well as achieving energy security runs complementary to each other, there is a need to create the right environment for developing the refineries of the future that are more efficient, connected, and sustainable. Just to add one more thing, that as refineries are being added in the country, there is also a similar activity happening nearby also. If you see that China, Korea, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, everyone is adding refineries, because if you see in our neighborhood, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Pakistan, they don't have any refinery capacity. And they don't have electrical capacity also to move directly leapfrog to EV. So there is a great scope that India becomes a refinery hub and add more refining capacity. This is also important because after COVID event, the supply chains in the world are resetting. The old supply chain, which started in 2000, early 2000, has been broken by COVID and the war later on, is being rewired and reconfigured. So keeping in that mind, keeping that in notice, we have to plan for refining capacity and energy security. And given our location in the globe, we can be our exporting hub in petroleum products also, including conventional transportation fuel. I'm happy to conclude that this conference is addressing these concerns of this industry, and theme of the conference actually and aptly captures this. Agility and innovation is needed, and at times it is very evident that agility is not very natural to refining industry, because any change or any alteration takes 2 to 3 years. I hope that will improve further with advent of new metallurgy, new technology, and we all experts will contribute to do that. I would also like to this conference to address the need of collaboration among industry, amongst refineries, to achieve operational optimization. That win-win blue ocean is needed for refineries. R&D also, as per our public sector, R&Ds there is a need for collaboration, so that we don't waste our resources on same things doing independently. And as I said earlier, that as we are going to have more refining capacity, there is also a area that we have to work on crude storage solutions, crude blending storage solutions. We also need a trader also of crude oil traders of Indian origin who is based out in India. So the whole gamut of petroleum industry is still at the level it will go and mature into a very powerful force by 2030, 35, in my opinion. I hope that this conference will enable all participants to interact, brainstorm, and share the best practices in the area of refining and petrochemicals. I wish grand success for this conference, and I hope Ministry will get some gist of valuable suggestions from all of you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.